guys, what is up? It is Destiny and I'm here again with another video. So of course I have been MIA for like 4 months, probably almost 5 by the time that I will upload this. But if y'all have followed me through this long journey of me being in ultrasound school, y'all know that with ultrasound school it comes studying just nonstop, and I also have a personal life, so you know, I have that as well. But anyways, for this video, I'm going to be telling you all how I was able to pass my abdomen registry on the first time. Yes, y'all heard that correct. I was able to sit for my abdomen registry actually before graduation, and I was able to pass it on the first time. So for this video, I'm basically just going to be discussing my experience taking the exam, you know, the process leading up to me taking the exam, as well as the materials that I used to study for the abdomen registry. So if you like to hear about those things, stay tuned. Yes, y'all, I was able to sit for my abdomen registry before graduation and pass on the first time. Y'all, when I say that test was something else, but I'm gonna get into that later on in the video. But that test, I was just so happy that I was able to pass it, because the process of just taking the test and then, you know, steps that I had to take to take the test, it was just a whole lot and everything. But I'm glad that I was able to sit for it, and I am a registered diagnostic medical sonographer, and I never thought that I would be able to say those words. So when it comes to signing up for your ultrasound registry, well, for the abdomen registry, you have to go on the ARDMS website and basically, you know, fill out an application or whatever. At the time, my exam was $250, but I'm pretty sure they increased the price to $275. So I had applied to take my abdomen registry early April. So once you know, submit the application to take the registry, you have to wait for the ARDMS to approve your application. And within that same day, the ARDMS approved my application. And I also want to say that it varies program by program, but some programs are able to sit for their registries before graduation, and then some programs have to wait till after graduation to sit for their registries. And luckily, my program, we were able to sit for our registries before graduation. So once the ARDMS had approved my application, I was able to select a date for the registry. And I told myself that I wanted to take my registry sometime in April. So I set my date to take the registry for April 27th. And I had signed up for the registry early April, so I had gave myself a little over 3 weeks to study. At the time, I didn't think that was enough time, but honestly, as long as you give yourself up to a month, you should be fine. I thought that 3.5 weeks was enough for me. At one point, I did feel like I was pushing it, but it doesn't even matter because I passed the exam. But I would say a month, 3 to 4 weeks is enough time to give yourself to study. If you're really serious about your studying and making sure you're doing what you need to do so you know the information, you should be fine. Because me, y'all, I was coming home from clinic studying. I was studying in between patients during clinic. I would study before work. Any time that I had to study, I was studying, because once you pay for that exam and set your date, it's over, because that time goes by so quick. Because y'all, those 3 weeks flew so quick. Like, I could not believe that time flew like that. When you are signing up for these registries, just go ahead and pay the money. If you have it, just pay the money to sign up for the registries, because the longer that you hold it off, you're just going to keep holding it off. And I told myself, I was like, I want to have at least one registry done by the time I graduate. So I just went ahead and paid that $250. It's $275 now. But just go ahead and pay that registry fee so you can go ahead and take your registry if you're able to, so you can go ahead and become registered before you graduate. Or if you are able to take your registry before graduation, go ahead and do like I did, because you can say, oh, I didn't graduate, I got a registry done. Period. But anyways, y'all, yes, so I studied a little over 3 weeks, and I felt like that was enough time for me. You know, I was just really focused with my studying, and I feel like if you're focused with your studying and you know, hey, I'm gonna do this amount of studying this day, I'm gonna finish up this day, then you should be fine. So when it came to taking my exam, and if y'all see me looking down, I'm just looking at my iPad because I wrote stuff down so I can stay on topic, so I'm just not rambling and everything. So when it came to taking my exam, I took it on April 27th. And the way that my testing center had it, that was like the last day in the month of April that I could take it. So I was like, you know what? It was meant for me to take it on the 27th, so I'm going to take it on the 27th. And it was on a Thursday too, because I remember. So your testing date is set and everything. You set up the testing center that you're going to go to take the exam. And the same testing center that I took my SPI, I went to the same one to take my abdomen registry. So when it's your test date, you got to go to the testing center, and they tell you to get there 30 minutes early and everything, because they have stuff that you have to do. And just like the SPI, when I went to go take it, they were very intense. I had to turn off my phone. I had to put all my stuff in a locker. They made sure I didn't have bracelets or necklaces on. You can have earrings on. I had on studs. I don't really think they were even looking like that. Also, I had to show them my ID, and also I had to tell them the test that I was taking and my full name and everything. And they also took a picture of me, and I'm going to show y'all the mugshot that they took of me. So this is the picture that they take of you when you go and take your registries, and my forehead looks humongous in this picture, but this is the picture that they took of me. And they just do that, so I guess they could say, oh yeah, this is the person who took this registry or whatever. I don't know. So basically, you know, they take a photo of you, show your ID, scan your palm, and like before you go into the testing room or whatever, I remember they made me take off my glasses. I wear glasses, if y'all didn't already know, but they made me take off my glasses because to make sure that I didn't have any cameras on, and you know, they made sure I didn't have anything, you know, underneath my pants or whatever. I had on yoga pants, so I kind of had to like pull them up a little bit or whatever. I didn't have on like long sleeves. I had on short sleeves, so I mean, they really couldn't see like if I had anything on my arms or whatever. So after all that process and intensity was over with, I was able to go in the room and sit for my exam. So for the abdomen registry, you have 3 hours to take the exam. And I want to say that the test was either 160 questions or 165. And the questions, they are all multiple choice with a couple hotspot questions. And if you don't know what hotspot questions are, they are basically questions where the question will tell you to click on an area. Like those would be like, oh, what ligament is this? And then you would have to place your cursor on the ligament and stuff like that. So that test, y'all, it was very challenging. Like, I'm not even gonna sugarcoat it. That was a very challenging exam. And when I was taking that abdomen registry, I thought I was failing. Like, I was like, oh my gosh, do I even know this information? Like, it's the wording of the questions that makes it so challenging. And for the abdomen registry, you have to be able to critically think to be able to answer the questions. Like, you have to have a strong foundation in clinical signs and symptoms, lab values, and also sonographic findings. Like, if you have a good foundation in those areas, you can be very successful in this exam. But that exam is very challenging. At one point when I was taking that exam, I wanted to cry because I was like, do I even know this stuff? Like, the way that they were asking me the questions, it was really tripping with me, because I was like, what in the world are they even asking? And like, I remember like there was this one, it was a scrotal question, and it had asked me this question, and it was like a picture, and I was like, I don't know what this is. Like, I don't know what this is. And I remember I hadn't even gone through all of my tests yet, and I had an hour left, and I was literally freaking out because, y'all, I flagged so many questions on that test. I flagged a little over 60 something questions on that exam, because some of those questions I was just second guessing myself so much, because like the wording of the questions was tripping me out, and it was just, I never want to have to go through something like that again. And I'm glad that I took the abdomen registry first, because, you know, after I give my brain a break and everything, and I've been giving my brain a break for about 2 weeks now. I'm gonna take my OB, but I'm just gonna chill for a second. But I heard abdomen is the hardest, and I kind of just wanted to get that out the way with first, because also, side note, I got a job offer right out of ultrasound school. So when I graduate, I mean, I gave myself a break and everything, but I'm going to be working in a hospital, and I'm going to be working in a general ultrasound department. So it made sense for me to get abdomen first. and everything. But besides that, you know, the exam was very challenging, and you know, no person's test is the same. Like, I know 2 of my classmates had taken it before me, and they told me they had a lot of scrotum and thyroid on their test. And me, I had a lot of spleen on my test. I had a lot of spleen questions, and I was like, oh my gosh, like, you know. And when you're studying for your registry and you know people who've taken it before you, just don't study what they said that their test was on. Like, you know, for example, you know, my classmates were telling me study thyroid, study scrotum. When I was studying, I studied literally everything, because I was like, I'm probably not going to get the same test as them. And the way the registries work, I've noticed, is that the registry, you know, the first couple questions, if you don't know them, they're going to see that that's your weakness, and they're going to constantly give you questions like that. Like, that registry knew that my weakness was spleen, so they gave me so many spleen questions. So when you're studying, make sure you just study everything abdomen. And I'm going to get into later on in this video, I'm going to get into like what you should actually study and what you should actually focus on when you're studying. But the test, you know, I feel like it is doable. Like I said, if you have a strong foundation in lab values, signs and symptoms, and sonography findings, you should be fine. Like, the test, it is doable. It's just, you just have to have that strong foundation in those areas that I had just mentioned. So once I finished with the test, I had flagged like 60 something questions. I had like 30 something unanswered by the time I had went through the test the first time. And you know, after I had went through the test the first time, I went through all my flagged questions, and within those flagged questions, I had the questions that I hadn't answered yet. So I went through all of that. Actually, I either went through the questions I hadn't answered first, or the ones that I had flagged. But anyways, once I went through the test the first time, I went over those flagged and unanswered questions again, and then I went through my entire test again, just to double check my answers and everything. And when you're going through your test the second time, try not to change your answers. I did change a couple of my answers just because I had realized that the answer that I had selected was the wrong answer. But only change your answer if you are certain that it is the correct answer from the previous answer that you had put. Y'all get what I'm trying to say. So once I had finished going through my test the second time, y'all, guess how many minutes I had left? I had 17 minutes left. And I was so nervous to submit my exam because I really thought I had failed. I was like, I failed this test. I felt so defeated. That was literally the hardest test I have ever taken in ultrasound school. And I was like, I failed this test. And you know what I did? Before I submitted my test, I prayed before my test, and I prayed after. And after I was done with my test, I had to raise my hand so the test proctor could, you know, close me out or whatever. When I was literally clicking submit, I had my fingers crossed and I had my hand on the mouse, and I was literally, I had clicked submit with my fingers crossed, but I was like, it's in the hands of God, it's in the hands of the universe, because I don't know if I passed or not. So once I walked out the room and everything, I had to scan my palm again. And then there was another person. I don't know if I got my stuff out of the locker first, or she gave me my little papers or whatever. But once, you know, she had gave me my papers, they were folded up, and she was like, good luck with everything. And I'm like, what does that even mean? Because y'all, I was like, I don't know if I passed this exam. I really don't. So I walked out the testing center, and the first page is your mugshot, and then I turned the other page, and it said pass. It says examination result passed. You passed the abdomen examination. And y'all, I literally felt like, I didn't cry, but I was like, I cannot believe I passed that test, because that was literally the hardest test I ever took in my freaking life. But I was just so proud of myself, because I was like, that test, 10 out of 10, don't recommend, but I needed to take it because I needed to become registered in abdomen. But I was so proud of myself, and I remember once I got outside and turned my phone on and everything, I called my teacher and I was like, I passed my registry. I was just so happy because studying for this test was hell on earth, and it was just a lot. But enough of my experience taking this exam. I know y'all are wondering, well, Destiny, what did you do to pass this so hard exam that you're talking about? Well, I'm going to tell you exactly what I used to pass this exam. So I used a couple of things to, I forgot to mention on the registry, there is also physics questions. And honestly, I was a little lazy and I didn't really study physics like that, but just touch up on your physics a little bit, because the test is 8% of the test is physics, so make sure you touch up on it a little bit. I was lazy, so I didn't really go over it that much, but you know, just make sure you do a little dibble dabble in the physics, because it's gonna pop up on your test. So when it came to studying for my abdomen registry, I used a couple things. So the first resource that I used, and I found it extremely helpful, was the Examination Review for Ultrasound, Abdomen, and OBGYN by Stephen M. Penny. And this is actually the 3rd edition. This just recently came out, and I'm gonna tell y'all a little backstory about why I actually got the 3rd edition and not the 2nd edition. So I had actually ordered the 2nd edition, and somehow the book got lost in the mail and I never got it, and I really needed to start studying, and the 3rd edition was literally going to get here the next day. So I was like, I'm just gonna get this 3rd edition and just hope for the best. And so I studied this book. So this book, half of it is abdomen, half of it is OBGYN. The first 14 chapters of this book is abdomen, and I read every single abdomen chapter in this book. I read chapters 1 through 14, and as you can see, I highlighted stuff in the book and I wrote stuff down in the book. And what I really like with this book is that Penny, he gives you charts. He gives you a lot of charts. He gives you a lot of images, and the way that he writes out the information, it's very easy to understand. And you know, for example, this was the bile ducts chapter. So like, he would give you like a chart of clinical findings. He would give you a chart of the sonographic findings, and this is for like each pathology that he's talking about. And then he'll give you like pictures and everything of what it looks like. And then after every single chapter, I think there's like 60 multiple choice questions, and I did all those questions, and I would just tell myself, oh, if I get like a 90 or higher on these quizzes, then I'm fine. Some of them I got like 80s, but like the lowest I ever got was an 80. But I feel like his questions like really helped me like understand the material, because for some of his questions you kind of got to put 2 and 2 together to come up with the answer. But I studied this book to help me study, because I feel like when you're studying, you kind of need a broad overview of everything to like kind of get your like head in the right mindset. Like, okay, like, you know, this is just a review of everything. Because when I'm studying, I kind of like to have a review of everything, and then I like to go into detail. So like with this Penny book, I felt like it gave me like a really good review of everything, and then it would have like those small nitty gritty details. Or if I wanted to find out more stuff, or if I wanted to know more about a certain pathology, I would either go to another textbook that I would use in that I've used in ultrasound school, or I would go to my PowerPoints from class, or just my flashcards. But I highly suggest getting this book. There are a couple typos in this book, so like if you're unsure about something, just Google it, because when I was reading this book and sometimes even answering the questions, a question I would think was right was actually wrong, and then I would look it up on Google and it was actually a typo in the book. So just make sure that you are looking on Google if you aren't sure about something, or if you just need to double check to make sure something is correct or incorrect. So another thing that I used to study for my test was flashcards. So all these flashcards, I have a ton of flashcards everywhere. Sorry. And these aren't even all of them, but I use flashcards to study as well. And these flashcards, I made these during my time in ultrasound school. So when I was studying for my abdomen registry, I really didn't have to make any flashcards because they were already done. So I kind of did it a little bit differently this time. So how I studied for my SPI. So I would read my textbook. I read the textbook, chapters 1 through 14. Once I was done reading the book and everything, I was just going through my flashcards and quizzing myself just to make sure that I was retaining that information. Because one thing about me, I am a flashcard girly, and I love quizzing myself because I want to make sure that I actually am retaining the information. I'm able to put 2 and 2 together, and I'm able to answer questions and everything. So if you have flashcards or a Quizlet, I would definitely suggest using that to study for your registries. And also another resource that I use, and I was totally against it, and it was kind of like a last minute resource that I used to study for the abdomen registry, was Ultrasound Registry Review. So as far as Ultrasound Registry Review, I think I'm not like an Ultrasound Registry Review girly. It was kind of like a last minute thing that I did, but I think with that website, you know, you can sign up for like a course, and like it'll go over all the stuff that you need to know, and then you'll have quizzes. For Ultrasound Registry Review, I just paid for the mock exams, and I think they were $15. You have 9 chances to get either a 80 or 85. I can't really remember, but I had took the mock exams, like, I think I had only took it like 3 times, and within those 3 times, I was able to get like the passing score that you needed. And I think Ultrasound Registry Review, the questions like on the mock exam, they were similar to the registry, but honestly, I felt like the registry questions were harder than the questions on Ultrasound Registry Review. Like, y'all, that test was ridiculous. Like the abdomen registry, I'm still like having like flashbacks from it because that test was awful. Like, if you can pass that on the first time, literally give yourself a round of applause, because that test is ridiculous. Like, it is hard for no reason. But I just feel like I said, you have to, when you're studying for that registry, you need to use multiple resources, because there was some stuff that I had not seen in the penny book, I had not seen in my notes from class, that I had saw on the Ultrasound Registry review, and that mess popped up on my registry. So make sure you're using multiple resources, because some resources may not have the information that may pop up on your registry. So I used all those things to study, and you know, when you're going through your reading or everything, making sure you highlight key terms and facts and everything, because when I was going through my book and everything, I was, you know, highlighting the definitions, you know, clinical symptoms and signs and findings or whatever. Y'all know what I'm trying to say. I was just highlighting main thing. Like, when you're highlighting, don't highlight everything. Highlight the stuff that you need to know. And it's just something about just seeing that color that just makes like the information pop out at me, and it just kind of helps me remember it and everything. And also, what you need to use when you're studying is you need to go on the ARDMS website, and you need to print out the content outline. I had this out every single day that I was studying, and this is all the stuff that's on the test. Like, every single thing that I see up here was on the test. Like, prostate was on my test, biliary system was on my test, spleen was definitely on my test, pancreas, liver, I did have a couple questions about renal artery transplants, but I had some questions about breast. Y'all just need to print out this. Make sure you print out this, because everything that's on the registry is this right here. So make sure you have this printed out and everything. And for the registry, anatomy, perfusion, and function, that's 30% of your test. Pathology, vascular abnormalities, trauma, and post-operative anatomy is 42%. So that is a good chunk of your exam right there. Abdominal physics, which I had mentioned earlier, is 8%, and then clinical care, practice, and quality assurance is 20%. So a lot of your abdomen registry is going to be pathology. So you need to be a beast in pathology, because it's going to be on your test a lot. But I think that is all that I have to say about this abdominal registry that just gives me horrible flashbacks. But if y'all have just any questions about anything, if I didn't go over something in this video, please let me know, because that test was just a lot for me to process, and I'm still processing it to this day, and it's been like a little over 2 weeks since I've taken that exam. So with that being said, I really hope you guys enjoyed this video. Please make sure you like, comment, and subscribe for more content, and I'll be back with another video very soon. Bye, y'all.